Before we begin this episode, you should know that Midsommar contains some scenes that some might find disturbing, such as sexual assault, self-harm, suicide, sexual exploitation, excessive gore, mental health issues, and extreme violence. Audience discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to the 7th episode of Incantation, a horror movie review podcast where we discuss both classic and current horror movies, as well as everything in between. We're 4 friends from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, with a shared love for everything horror. My name is Joe. With me today is Caleb.
Hello.
Lynn.
Hi.
And Josh.
Hey.
So we're currently talking about movies with a occultic theme. And for this week, Lynn has chosen the movie Midsommar. So, Lynn, maybe you can give us a little bit of background about this movie.
All right, sure. So, Midsommar is another film directed by Ari Aster, whom directed Hereditary, which we reviewed last week. So, this is his second movie. It's a 2019 folk horror film, and of course written and directed by Ari Aster himself. So this film talks about a group of friends who travel to Sweden for a festival that occurs once every 90 years, only to find themselves in the clutches of a pagan cult. So the main character in this movie is Dani, who lost her parents and her sister. Her sister is bipolar, so she actually killed the parents and herself. So Dani and her boyfriend Christian and a group of 2 other friends actually went to Sweden for this holiday, and they were invited by this guy called Pelle, who lives in a small village called Hårga, right? So initial thoughts about the film. This is my first time viewing it, and we are watching the director's cut, right? So it's like 171 minutes long. So it is pretty long. But the essence of the occult is actually fictional. So I guess Ari Aster really paid attention to all the cultural aspects of the Vikings or the Swedish culture. But it's a really good movie. You will never expect what's going to happen next. For me, after watching the first 20 minutes, I was already like, okay, what am I getting myself into? Like, the first scene when they arrive in Sweden itself, it's already very like the way they enter the village and whatnot. It's just odd and taking booze and stuff like that. Like, okay, this is just weird. Like, who invites people and give them booze in the first encounter, right? Only the Swedish people do it. But no offense, it's not a racist joke, but I really recommend this movie. And the occult, it's really carefully thought of by Ari Aster, even though it's fictional, but it feels like it could possibly happen. So I'm never going to Sweden, I guess. Highly recommended.
Caleb.
Right. This is my second viewing. Same with Joe and Joshua. This is actually a pretty difficult film for me to talk about because I have like mixed feelings about it. This film is like sometimes I just don't get it. I can tell that Ari Aster, he pull out thoughts and his skill and talent. I recognize it, like how he do his camera work and everything. But story wise, it's kind of weird to me. I see that he's very detailed. You can tell in everything that he does. Everything has like a meaning and everything. But for some reason, I just couldn't connect the dots. So, it's a good film overall. It's just that the story is just I can't grasp it for some reason.
Okay.
Recommending? Should I recommend?
Would you recommend this?
Yeah. You should watch it for at least once. Not twice though.
Not twice.
I'm still as confused as ever watching it the second time.
Okay. I remember the first time I watched Midsommar, I did not like it as much actually. It's probably due to the images that is shown in the film. It makes me really uncomfortable, and it's really disturbing. I guess that's the proof that the film was very effective. Ari Aster crafted a really, really, affecting film from the beginning all the way to the end. There's a lot of details that is planted here and there. You have to really look at the background for things. You have to notice a lot of things. I myself notice quite a bit of there's a lot of foreshadowing and all that. A lot of subtle things that's going on as well underneath. Things that are shown in the background, in the foreground, in their dialogue as well. People are talking. One of the characters I found most intriguing was the character of Pele. Throughout the whole movie, is just he never lies, and people just thinking that he's joking, but he's not. Right. So this movie is quite exceptional, actually. I remember watching it the first time. I felt that Ari Aster's first film, Hereditary, was better. Now I feel that it's on par, and I really enjoyed it the second time watching. Like what Lynn said, it's a bit long. Now that I watch extra 20 minutes, the director's cut is extra 20 minutes. But those 20 minutes, I feel it adds quite a bit to what I feel about the film as well. So overall, it's very enjoyable for me. Josh?
Yeah, I think for me, it's I have similar feelings to you, Joe. When Midsommar came out, it was one of my most highly anticipated and sorry, when it came out, it was one of my most highly anticipated films of 2019. But I did find myself feeling a little bit disappointed after watching it the first time. And I think that is due to how disorienting the film feels, especially if you're watching it for the first time. Like Ari Aster works very hard at that, right? She's juxtaposing the bright summer sunshine with these bizarre Swedish occultic rituals. There are these psychedelic and hallucinatory imagery that's interspersed throughout the film. And I also felt like I didn't have anyone to root for the first time I watched the film, because all the characters felt unlikable to some degree. Some of them obviously more unlikable than others. Mark, I'm looking at you. But this is really one of those films that really benefit from a second viewing, especially when you watch it back to back with Hereditary. I raved about Liam Gavin and how assured he was when he was directing a dark song, but I have to say this is really on another level to that. I mean, this is Ari Aster revisiting familiar themes from Hereditary: loss, grief, mental illness, a lack of control over our fates. But while there were some points in Hereditary which felt like Ari Aster was still exploring the limits of his craft, right? Exploring what he could or could not do, what he could or could not pull off, Midsommar just feels like a product of a filmmaker who's just supremely confident in his powers and he's just going all out, right? What I would say about this film is that it is like Ari Aster is performing a magic trick. From the very first shot of the film, he lays out exactly what he's going to do in Midsommar,
right?
And then he proceeds to pull it off in a manner that will still knock the stuffing out of you. You said, Joe, that you find that right now you like Midsommar as much as Hereditary. For me, I think I might actually like Midsommar a little bit more than Hereditary.
Okay, bye.
This is a really highly recommended. Everyone should see this film.
Right. All right, guys, there you have it. The overall views of Midsommar. So we'll be right back after this, and we will discuss some of the more extensive themes of the movie. And stay tuned.
I told you that I want to go to that festival in Sweden.
No, you said it would be cool to go.
Yeah, and then I got the opportunity and I decided
Look, I
to
don't
do
mind
it.
you going. I just wish you would have told me. That's all.
Dude, she needs a therapist. You've been wanting out of this stupid relationship for like a year now.
And don't forget about all of the beautiful Swedish women you'll meet in June.
Okay, guys.
That's not her again. Seriously?
Babe, what's happening? Dani. It's like another world.
Tomorrow's a big day.
Is it scary?
What is it?
It has special properties.
What am I going through?
We only do this every 90 years. I was most excited for you to come.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are in the middle of the discussion for the film Midsommar. So first thing first, since we are actually talking about movies with a occultic theme, right? Maybe we can talk about what makes Midsommar occultic, or is it even occultic? Did we choose the wrong movie for the theme?
I would say so, right? Because it's the practices that they do, sacrificing people and eating hair.
Eating hair.
Mystical practices. Taking drugs.
But when you think about occultic,
You think more about like witches and stuff.
yeah, witches
Magic.
and then summoning demons. and
This
all
one,
that.
I guess this one is more grounded.
There's no like supernatural elements in it. Or is there?
It's supernatural.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, what you could see is that they do like invoke different Norse gods, and then there's the use of the, like Caleb was saying, the rituals, the use of runes, runic language. So I do think that this should qualify as an occultic film. Maybe people, if you want to split hairs, you might say that it's more like folklore horror rather than occult. But and I think the difference between this and Hereditary is, in Hereditary the occult is more front and center, whereas this one, while it's well actually, I mean, the whole thing is it's about this bunch of Americans experiencing something that is
Culture shock.
wholly different. Yeah, and it's a totally different culture, right? So yeah, I would say that it is a film about the occult. But Lynn, this is the film that you chose. Did you think that it lived up to occultic? Was it an occultic film to you?
Yeah, I think it is. Whilst we did not witness anything supernatural in this movie, I think it is an occult movie because of the whatever rituals that they were doing, invoking different gods. I think during their rituals, there was a goddess by the lake, and when they had meals as well, they were calling for some entity. I don't know what it is. They were sitting in that position. It's like an R, shape of an R, before they had their meals. So yeah, there were a lot of spirits or gods that they were invoking, but we don't see it. So I guess just because we don't see it doesn't necessarily mean it isn't an occult movie. This is how I interpret it. Yeah.
I think we also have to be careful about, while I think on the surface, yes, I would call it an occult film, and that it deals with pagan rituals, even the use of the term pagan as well, right? So when you're saying pagan, but pagan to who, right? So if you're coming from a perspective of let's say, like for myself, if being a Christian, if I look at it, I'll say, yeah, okay, that's pagan, But for them, it's just because it's a culture that I've not been exposed to, right? And that's why I see it as something different. And that's something I think Ari Aster really leans on, just that whole culture differences between the Americans and the Swedes. But what one person would consider pagan, for somebody else might just be a way of life, right? So, this is not overtly occult, I think, and I can understand if some people might take offense towards having this seen as occultic, mainly because the word occult sometimes has a negative connotation to it.
Right.
Even the word pagan sometimes has been used in a negative manner. But it is just an exploration of something that for myself is just something that we are not used to.
Right. Okay. So I guess I don't know. I guess I'm standing alone on this one. I feel it's more it's more like folk horror, and then the shock of seeing another culture that's totally different from yours.
But folk horror usually has like supernatural stuff, like deities coming physical form.
Right.
No.
Not necessarily like sometimes like there are horror movies that just explores a group of like people. I forgot what's the name of the movie, but there was like these people going into the jungle and then
ruins.
And then they were just doing really horrific things. I don't remember, but yeah. So this is more not supernatural, and if I always tie like the occult with something that's more supernatural. But not to say this is a bad movie; it's an awesome one. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, but let's move on. The Ari Aster and his fascination with trauma and family and broken relationship. I mean, right at the beginning, the things that he does to set up the character of Dani, right? She suffers immediately a huge trauma, which we saw in Hereditary, right? I'm pretty sure you guys can find the parallel between Hereditary, where Dani is crying her heart out upon learning the news of something that is really bad. Something that really bad happens to her family, and then the same scene we will see the same scene where Toni Collette just lost the daughter, right? So that happened. Hereditary, that happened in the midway of the movie, where it's being set up, this family, and then something happens in the middle of the movie. But this one, he just goes straight in and then just paints this character as this is a damaged character already. Yeah. So it also sort of like sets up her whole journey throughout the whole film, where she's just vulnerable to Christians' dishonesty and cowardice, I would say, and then also to the seduction of the cult, right, where they offer a family, a solace for her as well. So Ari Aster, man, the way that he does trauma is totally different.
I just noticed that the first time when Dani lost her family, she was crying, and Christian was just kind of holding her.
He doesn't know what to do.
He was just holding her, but at the end, when she finds out that Christian was doing this scene, I don't really want to talk about it. Okay. When she was crying, she like summoned a group of girls. They were all crying with her,
right?
And there's like a connection there.
Yeah,
I don't really know what it means. I guess it's because they're trying to make her feel like a family.
Yeah, that's the parallel, right? So the way that they even the way that the cult deals with death, right? It's like they're saying that rather than just die horribly or or suddenly, right? Why not we just embrace it? Why not we just,
It's part of nature.
yeet off the cliff and just make it part of what we have to go through anyway, right? Just embrace it, and then they could have found a less horrible way to die, but as opposed to how Dani lost her family, it was very sudden, and it was very it was very jarring for her, and then
No one was helping her.
No one was helping her. She's isolated, and then you can definitely feel the emotions there. Even at the beginning of the movie begins with shots from like really serene and beautiful long takes of, I guess it's the Swedish country. It's really nice, and then very peaceful, and then suddenly it's just interrupted with a telephone call.
Wait, they're not in Sweden. They're in London.
Yeah, they were not. They're back in US, I think. Then the shot just cuts into like a telephone call, interrupting telephone call. That's how I guess that's like a mirror position or parallel between how the cult view things and how modern people view things, I suppose. What do you think, John?
Yeah, Ari Aster has used 2 films already, right, to deal with anxiety, depression, trauma, and loss. And both films really speak to each other, right? There is like you have mentioned, Joe, like there is elements from Hereditary that we see replicated here in Midsommar. But I think the one thing that I want to point out before we go into that is, in an interview with the LA Times, right, Ari Aster was saying that he was using this film, Midsommar, as a way to process a breakup. And if both of these films are him dealing with his emotions on film, I feel a little bit worried for him.
He needs to go see someone. It's not gonna be literally.
Like he must be going through some really, really terrible,
really
terrible situations. Yeah. But yeah, it's a question of I think one of the things that I find really fascinating about his films is how vulnerable he leaves his characters. You see that in Toni Collette's and her son in Hereditary, and you see that in Dani here as well. Like just throughout the whole film, how raw that pain is, and how even the slightest things can trigger and bring that pain up to the surface. And it's the first time I watched this film, for some reason I didn't really connect to Dani's character, but I think this time around, like I found myself feeling very much more empathetic towards her, and especially how Christian treats her. It's for me, like he very clearly gaslights her, right? He's even if he doesn't explicitly say it, like he's manipulating how she's feeling. She always feels that she needs to apologize for her behavior. He's always turning the tables on her. I think there is a scene that occurs in this director's cut that was left out of the original cut that I'm not sure whether I'm misremembering it, but there's this scene where after they had gone to the river where the boy was almost thrown into the river as a sacrifice.
That's part of the director's cut.
Yeah, and so there is an explicit confrontation between Dani and Christian, right? And where he's just saying that he basically turns everything back on her and says, you are the one that makes me feel terrible. I feel like the asshole all the time. Why did you even give me those flowers? And it is so incredibly manipulative when you can see that it is basically him just trying to push her away, maybe to get her to be the one to say, I don't want to be with you anymore. Rather than he having to have to find the courage to tell her, look, I don't love you anymore. We really need to break up. And the recurring theme of mental illness as well. Like he uses it in this film. It's really not so front and center. But at the start of the film, you could see Dani taking medication for, I guess, anxiety. And that anxiety attacks, reoccur quite a few times in the film itself. And I felt watching it this time that it's not exploitative in nature. He's not doing it to just to get to garner cheap sympathy for Dani or use it as a plot point, but rather it is to help us see how even though like you have mentioned, right, like she comes to this village with three friends, that she finds herself, at least at the start of the film, just utterly alone and utterly separated and cocooned in her grief, and how as the film progresses, she's able to let go of that and to be able to deal with it, albeit in a really non-conventional manner.
I think part of her character, I mean, it's not, like you said, mental illness is not used as the cheap selling point, but it does come back later. Like even to a point where after seeing Christian in that scene,
forbidden scene.
That forbidden scene. I mean, she was having a panic attack, right? And then, and how the bunch of ladies that came over to her started. I mean, that sort of calmed her down, and then even sort of like inducted her into their family. I mean, I guess that was the pivotal scene where she sort of like feels accepted into the family, right? So yeah, but man, that scene.
Stop talking. Forbidden. Bad.
I was wondering why Midsommar didn't come out in cinemas here in Malaysia until I saw.
That's probably why.
That film.
I mean, they would have to cut a huge chunk out of it.
We saw even more because first time we saw it was the cut version, right?
Yeah.
Then the director's cut one, they did even more stuff.
I think there were more. I don't really remember.
I guess
I'm not watching.
Yeah, I don't really want to do a comparison. Just what I've seen. Yeah, let's just say it is pretty explicit and leave it at that.
Alright, okay.
And Lynn, like you watched it with your brothers, right? How was that?
It was awkward. So awkward. Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's like typically how boys behave, lah. They will just laugh and giggle, lah, right?
That's it the whole time. Like, what are you guys doing? Stop.
Like, you should just ask them, like, let's dissect this scene. What do you think Ari Aster is trying to tell us?
Make it as uncomfortable as
Look at that old lady. What do you think she meant by doing that action?
No. Maybe you guys want to talk about the cult, some of the rituals.
Drinking hair, eating hair.
No, like the what's that ritual called? Ates tupa, where two of their most elderly, who reaches 72 years old, they just flies off the cliff and then be
flies off the cliff.
Yeah, I'm really want to know how Lynn feels about it, because like the three of us had seen it before, so we knew it was coming. But then you had no idea that was going to happen, right? And that was, I think, the one of the most brutal.
Like, when did you realize that it was going to happen?
Did you expect them to jump?
I kind of did. Because it's Ari Aster, right? So we kind of know that he's full of surprises, but expected surprises. It was horrible. Like when I watched that scene, I didn't know what was going to happen the next 2 hours of it. It was just disturbing. Though the old man wasn't that smart. to jump face down. That was just stupid. Yeah, so that's why he didn't die.
Some kind of a mentor, right?
He needs training he needs training to jump off the cliff. But yeah, apparently this atas tupan thing, right? It actually is real though. Like I googled it. Yeah, it's actually a real thing. So yeah, I don't know whether they do it like back then or not, but it's actually like real. It's a real culture.
So it's a thing that
that's a real practice.
It's a real thing that we're too uncultured to to appreciate, I guess.
Yeah, we won't appreciate.
And Ari Aster seems to have this thing about trauma to hate. Like he really likes
hate.
And I'm not sure whether likes the correct word, but hate injuries, right?
Make him sound like
it's a recurring theme. It's a recurring theme in Hereditary, and it happens here as well.
Yeah. Lobbing hate.
Why?
I mean, I feel that the way that the old guy jumped was on purpose.
I feel like it has a meaning. Because everything that Ari Aster does usually has a meaning.
Yeah, I don't know, because there was this one conversation, I forgot whether it was Dani was talking to one of the villagers. No, it was the black guy. What's his name?
Josh.
I don't know.
Josh. Yeah.
Josh.
So he was interviewing, and then he said, how many times have you seen this ritual, this atas stupa, right? And they say plenty of times. And she was a young girl who said it. So they've seen it plenty of times. And there is this guy at the ritual who's with a mallet, and then it's just expecting the old guy to not die, right? Mm-hmm. And then the old guy, I'm pretty sure he has seen a lot of people jump. He's 72 years old.
He forgot.
And
do I go head first?
Do I go head first, or do I go leg first?
Arm first.
Right. So the way that he jumps also, I'm pretty sure it's intentional. I'm quite sure it's intentional to die in the worst possible way.
I mean, even after they took turns smashing his head and stuff.
They took turns, like there was 4 of them, took turns smashing his head, and then the rest of them were just like sort of like reveling in the pain. I'm not reveling, but like sort of like empathizing with his pain, right? So that's how they in a really sick way bond, right? So
that's what I say. We're too uncultured to appreciate, quote unquote.
Maybe we should get like a Swedish professor
on Swedish culture,
anthropology professor, to come and enlighten us, right? Maybe tell us what's the meaning of breaking your legs into like a few pieces. Yeah, but then I feel like the movie. Like I said, I didn't say this, but I said this before, but the movie itself functions like a cult. It's sort of like tells you, it's sort of like at the beginning, it shows you one of their worst things. Then they sort of like come back and say, it's not that bad because we were supposed to drown this boy, but we didn't, we're good. and then the worst things comes at the end.
But then you're like used to it.
Yeah,
you don't see it as
it sort of conditions you, right? So at the beginning it gives you something really shocking, and then it sort of like draws you back in and say, "Oh no, we're just putting on a show. Those people were old anyway. It's fine, right?" And then they have this ritual by the river, and then it's like, we were supposed to kill this boy. It looks like we were gonna kill it, but we're full of compassion. We didn't, and then, oh my god,
this is cult tutorial.
Yeah, I mean, the whole movie, the whole film functions like a cult. It sort of like tells you some of the worst things first, and then they draw you in. How they treat Dani as well. I guess I want to ask you guys. Maybe I'll ask at the end when we talk about the ending, right? So do you think so? Like this movie? I mean, the movie is like a cult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned, feels like it.
I am going to disagree with that. I don't agree with that. I think it's really it's because it's something that's so alien, right? And then I think there's something that I was wrestling with throughout the film. just my reaction towards how these people are living their lives and the rituals that they conduct. And now just thinking like we are from Malaysia, and we have a Chinese cultural background. Like, from a Western perspective, there are some things that we do that are going to seem like pretty weird or pretty out there as well, right? And granted that, okay, because this is a horror film and it is Ari Aster, that there are some things that are taken to extremes, but like what Lynn was saying, a lot of the things that they put on film were actually stuff that is actual folklore, right? It's actual things that or practices that were done in the past. It's just a question of whether is it acceptable or not right now, and even if we're talking about whether it's acceptable, do we reject it because it doesn't jive with our culture or our worldview? I think there is something very enticing about how communal really the villagers were, right? How they share in really everything. Like, they share in life, they share in death, they even apparently in sex as well. All of it, that every aspect of their life is shared, right? In their joys, in their griefs, it's all shared. And I can see how I can appreciate, like you're saying, that it appears like a cult. I'm just wondering whether there's just another way of saying that it is a way of life that we don't understand, that I have not been in a situation where a communal society or a communal society is taken to that extreme, right? And I think that it's really interesting about the film that Ari Aster really pushes into that. Like, even you look even into the way where they how they sit down to eat, how they all the things that they are doing together just emphasizes that how they where they all of them sleep together in the same place, right? So much emphasis on the communal, so much emphasis on togetherness. And in today's day and age, actually that has some appeal to me. There is some aspect that I can see as appealing. So yeah, I'm not sure whether I would call it cultish, because at the end of the day, like they really are just it really is a way of life for them, and they are looking out really for one another, right? Sharing with one another. So I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think that is appropriate to call them a cult. But I can see where you're coming from.
I mean, it's fine for the whole community thing. Everyone sharing things with each other. But there's a point, to a certain point, it will be weird, right? Killing people off, inducting people from other countries to kill them off, and doing all these things that they don't consent to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, to the killing them off thing. It's like, to me, I think, and I was going to save this for our discussion on the ending. I'm not sure whether it's more appropriate to talk about it there. But I can see as well, like, where that's coming from as well. But yeah, maybe let's just save that when we are discussing how the film wraps up. I think it's better to talk about it then.
Okay. So maybe we can move on. We talk about some of the more technical aspects of the film. Ari Aster is a master, right? I think we can all agree. So maybe we can talk a little bit about how the film is structured, some of its cinematography and all that. Right at the beginning, Ari Aster just shows us this, I would say, artwork, I guess. It totally just tells you the whole movie basically lays out the whole movie, the plot of the movie to you, and then he just proceeds to go, right? Like what Josh says at the beginning. So I found that to be very amazing, and the level of detail of planning that went into the film.
But that's where I have like a little bit of problem, because they show all these details in the beginning. So imagine if you're watching it the first time, you don't know anything, what's everything at the background is about. So I'm confused as to why he did it in the beginning. If like first time viewers, it's gonna see it and just discard it as just pictures at the background.
Right. But that's like a foreshadowing, right? They call it foreshadowing, right? So
you have to watch it again.
Yeah,
it's forcing you to watch it again.
Making you watch it again.
Well, what do you think, Lynn? Did you find that confusing? Did you find some of the cuts to the murals or the paintings and all that? Did you find that confusing?
I didn't really pay attention to the first painting in that first scene. But the rest of it, like the ones on the walls of the house, those actually did help me to understand the movie a little better. And then also on the blanket where it's that whole storyline of the woman cutting her pubic hair and to be put in the food of the guy. That really happened. So another trick of foreshadowing that Ari Aster used that I felt was quite helpful was the one that what's her name? That lady, Sif, is it? She was talking to Christian, and then she said that Maya wanted, already eyed him, and then had that same astrological sign and whatnot, and that Pele has showed the picture of these people. It's already like a red flag of like, why would Pele it's just on a random day show the picture to Sif, right? Like there's no particular reason unless Pele wants them dead. Like, hi, these are like 4 of my American friends. Like,
yeah,
like who would do that? I mean, it's so random. Like, why would you show a picture of your friends to like your whole community?
I don't think it's random. Like Pele has it all planned out. I mean, like right at the beginning where Pele was introducing them to his brother immediately remembered all their names. It's like he already knew who they were.
Yeah, that's true. Also, did you guys notice what he was drawing in the first at the table with the friends? I actually didn't see what drawing was it.
He was actually drawing the table.
Oh.
Yeah, he was actually drawing the table in front. We paused it.
Okay. I thought it had something to do with the foreshadowing as well.
Yeah. Did you notice like paintings way before they went to Sweden in their houses? They have like paintings
the bear
of the story.
is already there.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah. There was the bear, the woman and the bear, which is in the background of their house, which is really like a creepy ass painting to hang on.
It was right above Dani's bed, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, but the thing again, like I think for me, appreciating the film, watching it back to back with Hereditary, there are so many techniques that I think that he has taken from that first film and refined it and used it in this film. I think if you look at Hereditary, like one of the things that he does a lot are those quick transition cuts, right? He does it, and it's very jarring, day to night, or from one scene in say a bedroom to the classroom and things like that. Which, now that I contrast it with Midsommar, Hereditary feels like, I can do this, and I'm going to keep doing it. Repeating that motif over and over again. Whereas here it feels more restrained, more like I know what I can do with this kind of techniques, and I'm going to just apply it sparingly for maximum effect, right?
Yeah.
So one of my absolute favorite shots, not just in this film, but I think of all time. Like I remember the first time that I saw it, I was like, oh wow, was the transition where Dani is in the apartment and then she goes to the washroom and then it switches over to the airplane toilet and she's having an anxiety attack. Like it just felt to me like, whoa, like she you are a director that is really is so confident, right? He's so confident in applying a time jump like that, in applying a technique like that. I love the way that he uses his camera. Again, like we see something here that he used in Hereditary as well, the upside down camera,
Right.
where the camera just turns upside down. And that was in Hereditary. I think that was when we realized that okay, things are getting really, really bad when the mom was going to the apartment of the occultist, right? And that was when like it escalated towards the end of the film. Whereas this one, it's just and it stays longer. It stays longer in an upside down shot, to just disorient us and to maybe put us in the shoes of Dani as well, like how she's disoriented. She's in this new country. There's a time difference. And it's just sunshine all the time. The thing that I find especially interesting was that we are primed as a viewer, if you already have knowledge of Hereditary, that we are primed when we see this kind of camera flourishes to expect that something evil is going to happen, right? But then Ari Aster just bathes everything in this bright sunlight, and it's so interesting because the evil in Hereditary is always hidden in the shadows. We talked about that in the last episode, how the occultists are hiding in the shadows, or there are things that you can barely see, in the background of the film. Whereas here, everything's lit out in the open. Like from the very first shot, he's like, "Here's the mural, right? Look at it. This is what's going to happen. I have nothing to hide, right?" And this is just so. It felt to me like so. It almost feels like showing off.
Yeah, I mean it's very show offy. Like even like all the deaths are brightly lit, especially the first deaths. And it feels the one that didn't result in the death would be the river scene, which is at night.
Yeah.
Right. So
and it's yeah. And I think like for horror fans, right, we are always used to the films we watch always being dark and gloomy, and the ghost is hidden somewhere. And just to have a film like that where it's just everything is just out in the bright daylight, and he foreshadows everything. It has been basically laid out. Even the man that is being burned. There's a mural also where you can see a man getting burned.
Yep.
It's all there. And the death of the two elders, it also has been foreshadowed already. He is just so confident. And I think the last thing I want to say about this is also there was something that I noticed as well this time around, how he likes to use humans as puppets, right? And you see that in the first film where seeing the family as figurines in this model houses,
right.
And then in this film at the end of it, you see this humans like a stuffed. Or sometimes only their heads, or they've been stuffed into these straw bodies, or have been, or like in Christian's cases, it's been mounted into a bear. Like this theme of outsiders or the protagonists, I suppose, of the films being on a track where. They can't get off, right? Like things are going to happen to them irrespective of what they do.
Yeah.
Demonstrated by them being shown literally as puppets, or like the stuff toys or whatever, right? It's just so interesting that he chooses to revisit this again in Midsommar. Yeah, man. This guy.
I feel like there are a lot of things that is right in your face. Like the deaths and whatnot, but I also feel that there is also different layers, things that are happening in the background, which is also disturbing. If you watch the whole film, people in the background, they don't move. There are some of them are just stationary. They're just standing there, and I don't know what they're doing, taking in the nature, or just coming down from a trip or whatnot. But the people, the villagers are all acting super weird. From the moment they step into the village, you can see in the background, if you're watching it for the second time, there a lot of weird shit is going on.
I think the way they were greeting
Right,
each
and
other,
then,
they were like tapping on each other's chest or something like that.
The-
I think that was the way they greeted each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was for an uncomfortably long period of time as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
It's just standing there. I don't know if Lynn noticed, but Christian's drink is a bit darker than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has
Yeah.
it has Maya's menstrual blood in it, I think.
Yeah. So
Oh,
Did you not notice that?
did you not notice? Did you
no,
not know that?
I did notice it, but I didn't think that it was the menstrual blood.
Oh, you didn't know it was the menstrual? You didn't think it was that?
No, because I thought no, the menstrual blood was supposed to be in the pie, right? Because I think
No,
That's the
that's
hair.
That's the hair. That's the pubic hair pie.
But the drink was
Right.
darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, the drink was darker because it's blood, and
Oh.
in the
Painting on the
picture or mural
on the blanket.
on the blankets, it's menstrual blood. So it's like, oh my goodness.
right.
And I think
right.
Christian knows it's menstrual blood. He just drank it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here for experience.
Yeah. At one point, he's
For
just
my thesis.
yeah. He has to experience it in a very unique perspective. Was that the line?
Yeah. Yeah, I
so
think
many red
okay. Since we're on this topic, right? I think like why don't we talk about? Did we think like at the end, knowing what happens to all these outsiders, right? And I think okay, let's leave Dani out of the equation first, but for the rest of them,
Right.
like, do we think that they got what they deserve, or was it maybe a little bit too extreme? You know, the things that happened to them.
I think
Before we talk about whether they deserved whatever it is, I do feel personally it's one of the weaker part of the film for me.
That's why I chose them.
Like the outsiders, the way that they died didn't really have significance.
Like a lot of them died off screen.
They died off screen, and then it didn't really have any kind of meaning to it. Like I mean, who's that guy? The UK, the guy from the UK,
Simon.
the tall guy. Forgetting his name, Simon. Right. I mean, he got blood eagle, right? So, but what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. It wasn't. I mean, for a film that is just foreshadowing everything and then everything has purpose and meaning, I feel that the deaths of all these outsiders didn't really have much meaning. Mark, the guy who's just constantly vaping, he died off screen, and then he's just used as a diversion for them to murder. What's his name? Josh, right? He got bonked in the head.
Bonked in.
In that scene, right? And then
Mark
got
was
buried.
Mark was skin, right?
Skin.
Yeah, he was
Because
skin.
Because the guy was wearing his face.
Yeah. So the guy was wearing his face, he was skin, and then he wore his face to distract Josh, right? And Josh was thinking it was Mark, but it was not Mark, and then he got hit in the head, and then he died, right? So that was the only death scene that we saw of the other outsiders, apart from the bear, right? So I feel that their deaths didn't really have any meaning, or did they serve any kind of part in the ritual at all? In any kind of ritual, or did they just kill them for no reason? I mean, Mark, I can understand that he pissed on that ancestral tree, but like, it's just, I feel that it's just they killed them because they did things, and that's it. It didn't really serve. It's not really a part of their ritual. It's not really. I mean, they could have just killed them, and then that's it, right? Why kill them in such a horrific fashion?
I think it has meaning.
I don't.
It's not the way that they die, but what their character, what they mean to the sacrifice, right?
Oh,
I guess it's like we're not Swedish enough to understand the meaning. Like the blood eagle, I know it has a significant meaning. Like I watched this show Vikings, they do it to their enemies. Like they hack out your back and take out your rib from the back.
Yeah, the lungs, right?
Yeah, then there's like a meaning to it. I don't remember. So
yeah, but I'm sure like like if you're talking about the show Vikings, like they do it to their enemies, right? Maybe as an intimidation tactic or whatever. But I guess this goes to our point of discussion is, did they deserve it? Right? Did Simon deserve it? He freaked out at the suicide ritual,
and he got flowers in his eyes,
and then he just wants to go home, right? So
yeah. I wondered, Lynn, like how you feel about the deaths.
I agree with Joe that it doesn't really have a significance apart from that ritual, the last one where 9 people need to be sacrificed. I don't think there is a prerequisite though, like what kind of person do you need to be, like be it male or female. I think even Connie was one of the individuals who was sacrificed. So as long as they're outsiders, they never get to go out lah. I guess that's why there was nothing mentioned about this culture, this Hoga culture, because like no one actually gets to go out. If they're in there, there's no way out. Whether they deserve to die or not, especially for that couple, Simon and Connie, I think they don't. Josh and Mark, I guess in a way they have violated some of the rules. So I guess maybe they did. I don't know.
They deserve to die.
Yeah, I mean they did violate the rules in a way, because like he peed on the Mark peed on the ancestral tree, and Josh went into that snap pictures of that what's that writing called?
Their scripture.
So I mean, in a way, they have done something wrong. So I guess they deserve it. But the other 2 individuals who were normal, wanted to just go home, they didn't. So yeah, it's quite sad one.
Yeah. Even for like Christian, he was being a jerk to Dani, but he didn't do anything to the villagers, did he?
Well, yeah. So I'm gonna again disagree a little bit on push back a little bit on this. I think again it's a question of looking at it from a perspective of the villagers, right? And so when these outsiders come to the village, I think the villagers knew that they have been preordained for sacrifice already, right?
Their target,
and that's and so that's why at the end, even when they mention like, there are 9 that need to be sacrificed, and just as a side note, like I find it very interesting how the theme of 9 is repeated over and over again in the film like this. 9 days of the festival, 9 people are meant to die. Even in like Norse mythology, there's actually the 9 realms,
right?
And so like in this. And by the end, when Dani is asked to choose whether Christian should be one of those sacrificed, 4 of them have already been given up as sacrifice, right? So, the if you're looking into meaning, there is a perspective where you can look at and see like, look, that these 4 were just randomly chosen. Right, but the moment that they were there, they are meant to fulfill that purpose of being that ritual sacrifice for this entire ritual. But there are some things that I think I'll get to the minor point first and then I'll go to the major point. I think the minor ones is that there actually are some foreshadowing of things that have to happen. Like for example, at the very start of when they enter into the commune, there are kids playing in the background. They're asking, what are they playing? And they say, "Skin the fool," right? And then Mark is the fool, and then he gets skinned at the end. And then the thing with the bear, I think we have talked about that already. But I feel like one of the when we talk about whether they were deserving of their deaths or not, Christian, Josh, and especially Mark, right, were very disrespectful of the Swedes in their practices. And you see Christian and Josh that they were only there to really exploit them for their theses, right? They're really not interested in these people or interested in really getting to know them. They're just there as a means to an end. I want to write a thesis. I'm here to just get all this information from you. And, previously, I had felt that Christian's death at the end was undeserved. It's really extreme for him to be burned alive just because he's not a good boyfriend to Dani, right? But watching it a second time around, I recognize that there's something larger is going on. Christian, Josh, and Mark's selfishness is really anathema and abhorrent to the deeply communal nature of the villagers. Right? The two of them, the two British ones, I can accept the criticism that maybe their deaths are really extreme. Maybe it's because you've been selected for sacrifice, and now that you're in the village, if you want to leave, then that's the punishment. Although Blood Eagle is a really, really severe punishment. But when we look at these other three guys, I think their sin is to be so self-centered, right? So inward focus on their own desires. Christian especially, right? He steals Josh's thesis idea, and he's continually gaslighting Dani about how she feels, and it is so when the film ends and you see Christian, who throughout the film has been deflecting, has always been only looking out for number one, and he literally ends up exposed and vulnerable. Like, he's literally naked. Right?
My goodness.
But you have to remind me. And okay, just a side about that, man. In that same, the LA Times interview that I was talking about, the guy that plays Christian actually said that I advocated for as much full-frontal nudity as possible. I really wanted to embrace the feeling of being exposed and humiliation of this character. So he actually wanted to be nude for that scene. But I feel like if you can see like how for the villagers, like this, the centrality, the thing that's most central to their life is sharing everything and being communal and being open to each other. And then having these three of them being so selfish and self-centered and like they're so anathema, right? And I can see how what they got could be interpreted as being deserved, because it is just so, even as how we see the film and see, this is a way of life that is so alien to us. For the villagers as well, looking at Christian, Josh, and Mark, they will be the ones that are alien to them, right? So I can sort of see how it is deserved. I'm not saying it's not extreme. It is extreme, but I can sort of see how it could be justifiable in the eyes of the villagers.
Do you think they deserved it, Caleb?
Not really. No one really deserves to be sacrificed. Even if you're selfish, right? I feel like Josh, the guy that does the thesis, he was pretty respectful. He was asking permission to see the book and all. But then at the end, of course, he did try to take photographs.
Right. He did take photographs.
So I don't know. I don't think they deserve it. I don't think anyone deserves to be sacrificed by other people.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make it clear. I'm not advocating for anybody to sacrifice anybody else. I am just saying,
you're saying
in the
from
logic of the film. Right? Yeah.
I mean,
it does make a little bit of sense.
It makes sense.
It makes sense for the villagers because they really plan to do it.
Yeah,
they want to do it for this festival. Right?
Yeah, I guess that also makes sense for the villagers because they say that the sacrificing of the 9 is actually to purge them of the evil, right? So that's one of the stated purpose of the sacrifice is to purge the evil from among them. So I guess when they saw what Josh was doing and what Mark was doing, they're considered evil in their eyes.
Yeah, and but the thing is that Christian is the one upon whom they put that curse, right, of being evil, and Christian is the most individualistic among all of them. Yeah. So I think there might be a theme there, but So again, not advocating for human sacrifice, guys. I'm not.
Yeah, I guess like Christian would be the most antithetical to their way of life, right? I guess I could see that, but. Yeah, I felt that like what I said, don't want to repeat myself. Their death seems insignificant. It feels like they were just thrown away. And then at the end, it's just, let's just sacrifice these people.
I feel like there's a meaning to them.
Of course,
to every one of them.
To every one of them, there's a meaning, right? But I don't know.
Yeah, time to watch it a third time then.
No! That opens up more questions, right? Like the two elders that were sacrificed. Were they evil? They were not. They gave their lives willingly. And then
but that was because that is part of that's part of their life cycle as well, right? So it's explained by the woman elder. Say this is how it is. Things are here. Yeah, but I guess this is the way things are here. Is probably not good justification for So some of those things. Yeah.
So let's talk about Dani at the end. I think it's quite clear what I think about that ending.
Reiterate.
Okay. Maybe I'll ask this: did Dani get a good ending, or did Dani get a happy ending? Maybe each of you can tell me.
I guess she got a happy ending. in a really messed up way. Mm-hmm. If the person feels happy, feels included, being in a family, that means she's happy, right? Even if it's, I don't know if it's temporary or false, but she's genuinely happy at the end, that she's free from all these burdens and everything.
She's free from Christian.
Yeah, he's a bear.
Right. He's a bear.
Bear my weights.
Lynn, what do you think? Did you think Dani got a happy ending?
So I couldn't really interpret that last scene where she was crying at first and then laughing. I'm not sure if she was happy, but even if she was, I think it was just it's a temporary thing. Like, yes, you probably had your revenge on your ex-boyfriend. You have a family here, but going back to reality, right? Do you want to be stuck in that culture, that village forever, where she was not accepting everything that was happening, right? The Atas Stupa, and then the throwing of the kid in the river. She couldn't accept them, but like to be incorporated into that kind of culture, I don't think she will find long-term happiness lah. So I don't know, and we also won't know what will happen to her as the May Queen, because it wasn't explained what happens to the May Queen after they have won that competition. So
right,
yeah, who knows?
Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Battle Royale.
Dance battle.
I'll leave the ending thoughts to Josh, but I'll just say that like what I said before, this film to me functions like a cult. It sort of like draws you in. It shows you its most horrible aspect first, and then sort of like tries to entice you with its communal living, and then at the end it makes you think that you're in a happy place, right? So the film itself functions like a cult for me, right? So at the end, Dani is happy in her mind, and I suppose that matters to some people.
Does it not qualify as happy?
But I would say what Lynn said, like that's just what's in her mind, and then how long would that last is unclear. And there is a disturbing fact that there is no other May Queens that's being introduced to us. Right. So what did they do with all the other May Queens? I don't know, but that's not normal.
But if you look at the perspective of the two old people that jumped off,
they were happy.
They were happy. What if you reach the end of your life cycle and the whole time you were just happy? Why are you not considered happy?
I wouldn't want to end my life like that. Legs shattered and my last view to be a mallet on my face. But Yeah. I'd rather die in my sleep. Thanks. But yeah, like she's. I mean, to observer, Dani is part of a cult now.
Yeah.
And she's isolated. She doesn't know the language. That's one. I mean, maybe she could learn, but she's isolated from everything and everyone back home. Not that she has a family to go back to, which brings me to a point that she's being exploited because she has no family, and they took advantage of that fact.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Pele took advantage of that fact, and then he just inserted himself into her life. Right, he just kissed her, and when she won the May Queen, and then they just sort of like swept her along, and none of this she has any say in.
Right? If you have nothing to go back to, might as well just join the cult.
I mean, if I lose everything here, I might think about joining the cult. But no.
Happy is happy.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my. Dani got a happy ending in her own mind. Right. So if that's okay, then I guess that's okay.
You have like infinite amount of mushroom to munch on.
Gosh.
How can you not be happy?
How many Etestupa do you want to witness? Like that young girl said, she saw a lot.
She's pretty happy.
Man, there's something wrong with you if you're happy seeing Etestupa every other weekend.
I mean, it's their culture. I don't know.
Fine, you can go back to the cultural argument. I don't know. I don't want to be offensive here, but I don't want to die like that. So Josh.
Yeah, Joe, for all your criticisms of the villagers, I regret to inform you that you have been pre-selected for rituals of Look, I mean, Ari Aster, when you were discussing the film, said that, for Christian and the rest of them, this is a hope horror movie. For Dani, it's like a fairy tale, right? A wish fulfillment fantasy. She's someone who was throughout the film is searching for family. The fact that we see her that she's living apart from her family, she's isolated, and she's isolated even when she's with Christian and the rest. Finally, at the end, like she finds somewhere where the people are willing to even go to the extent of carrying her grief for her. Like when she's experiencing grief, that they empathize, not just empathize, but are carrying it with them as well. You could view that and say that, hey, that she seems to have found somewhere where she feels like she might belong, right? I think how the ending lands will probably depend on how you view the villagers, right? Like Joe, like you pointed out, like if this is something that you feel is wrong, or is something that is manipulative and is and it's just there to use Dani for their own ends, then Dani is not going to be there's probably not going to be a very happy ending for her. If we take the view of looking from Dani's perspective, where she has been in a very unhappy relationship with having suffered severe emotional trauma because of her loss, then to find somewhere where finally people are willing to open up to you and share with you, and for you to be able to find that in a culture that is so different from yours, somewhere that you have never been before, might just seem like a sort of paradise, right? Which is I think you also, I mean, it's the imagery of the film also seems to suggest that. The one thing that I would say though is that thinking about that ending, right? Like again, we talk about how the film is always so brightly lit. It's always sunshine and greenery and flowers. But this is also artificial, right? Because this is just the winter sun in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
After this is done, the fall will come, and then the winter comes again, right? And what happens what do these people do during the winter solstice?
More stuff.
Gosh.
Yeah.
The sequel.
And so,
The sequel.
yeah. So we have Dani has moved from that grief of the deep winter in which we started the film up into the bright sunshine of summer. Like, it seems to end on a positive note for her, but I do worry for Dani. I really do.
I mean, that's. I mean, my last defense would be the ending music. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but when the yellow pyramid was going up in flames, the music was overbearing, right? It was overly happy and overly ethereal. But
Then comes in.
if you've noticed, there was
another layer.
another layer of violin, which is very violent, screeching
Yeah,
violin,
yeah.
which is very violent, and you can hear Christians screaming. I don't know if you guys hear.
What?
Yeah. If you hear the part, if you go watch the part where the bear was being consumed by the fire, you can hear Christians screaming, but the music drowns it out so much. And then
Isn't it the other guy screaming though? Isn't it?
yeah, no, the two other guys were screaming as well. That was very obvious. But if you see the part there's this shot of that bear being consumed by the flames, you can hear Christians screaming.
It was very faint, I think.
No. It's a front view. It's a front view of the bear being consumed by fire. So, to me, like I said, it speaks to that.
Can I just jump in here? Just very quickly jump in at this point. Like, the guy before the end, he goes to those other two guys and say, "Here, take this. It will free you of the pain. It will free you from fear." And then he doesn't give it to Christian. Like, man, that's cold, man. That's cold.
No, the thing is, he lied to. It doesn't work.
The branch doesn't go.
It doesn't work.
The elm.
Here,
The
feel
elm.
no pain.
Yeah.
And then he's like, it hurts.
That actually reminds me of this is really going on a tangent, but it reminds me of that episode of Rick and Morty, of the guy that thinks that he can't be burned by acid, and then he gets lowered to this vat of acid while the Johnny Carson show, and then he's like screaming all the way to the end.
I said, this is evidence that, you know,
It's deception, right? It's deception. It's deception.
But
right?
but this is Ari Aster saying on the very top layer, it's all sunshine and rainbows, right? And how Dani is happy at the end. But, you know, there's a very, very dark and violent layer underneath, and that's the theme throughout the whole film, right? So
yeah.
So let's get to our ratings, Josh. Maybe you can start us off.
Yeah, so okay, so the my last one, when I give Hereditary, a little bit controversial, right? I give it 10 out of 10, I give it a 9 out of 10.
I'm backtracking.
I know, I'm not backtracking, I'm just saying, you know. But this is really something else. I mean, there are flaws in the film. I think if we look at it, the ending, while I try to defend the ending, you know, it still sits. I'm still a little bit uncomfortable with it. I don't know whether that's what he meant, you know, whether it is by design meant for us to be a little bit uncomfortable with what has happened. The pacing as well. Second time around watching it, I can appreciate the pacing, but I can see how some people might feel that it's a bit too slow. But I think, you know, even then, like the slow pacing is just punctuated by these scenes of extreme violence, and I think that what makes it really effective. Right, you compress it, then the violence might lose its effect already. I think the reason why it's so effective is because between all these scenes of sunshine and flowers and brightness, and then you have these really, really gory sequences in between. The fact that there are, again, watching it, like I said, I feel more empathy for Dani this time around, but man, those three guys are real assholes. It's really hard to it was really, you know, it's hard to watch a film where you are you are wary of everybody. You get what I'm saying? Like, you're wary about who the villagers are. You're wary about the three Americans, and you're rooting for Dani. But Dani, while sympathetic, is also not the most. It's difficult to warm up to her. So even though I love Florence Pugh as an actress, man. But having said all that, there are so many things that are so good about this film. Like we are mentioning it over and over again, but I'm just going to repeat it. Like, Ari Aster is a genius, and the level of craft that he's displaying here, right? It's just head and shoulders above. And I'm going to say here, head and shoulders above, almost every other horror director that's out there today, and I include. People like James Wan. I include people like Liam Gavin. Maybe the only one that I think that is on a similar footing to him is Robert Eggers. So yeah, again, highly recommended. How do I rate this film? Now, this part is going to be.
Here we go. You want us to give you like 100 points?
I think that this is to me, I think it is a better film than Hereditary. Or I like it more than Hereditary. And there are some minor issues that I have with this film, the same way I had minor issues with Hereditary. So, I think I'm gonna go with a 9 out of 10 for this one.
Gasp! You gave Hereditary 9 too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But so I'll rate both of them 9. But if you were to ask me which one do I prefer, I would say I prefer Midsommar. But I think Midsommar benefits from, if you have watched Hereditary first. I think it benefits greatly if you have that in mind already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Me? Yeah. For me, this film is great. It's almost like an improvement to. I mean, the craft, the skill that Ari Aster has is like he improved on it after Hereditary. There's this. What I really like is the things that he do, the effects. Like one thing that we didn't talk about is when at the end, the flowers and everything, the trees.
They look like they were breathing.
They look like they were pulsing and breathing. Look, the food were all moving. It's trippy, but not too trippy.
It's very subtle.
Yeah, it's very surreal, I guess.
Yeah.
I just like what Ari Aster did with 2 of his films. He's very detailed. He's clearly skilled, very skillful. What would I rate it? I would rate it a 9 too.
9?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like Hereditary more, but that's just like a personal preference. Because Hereditary story, I like the story more than Midsommar.
Yeah. Same with me. Okay. So I like Hereditary more than Midsommar, but that's definitely just a personal preference because I like supernatural, psychological horror more than whatever Midsommar is.
Whatever Midsommar.
It's so hard to categorize it. It's so hard to categorize this film, but yeah, I like the supernatural more. That's why I like horror movies. Yeah, but man, Ari Aster is the master at his craft. Repeated, but just say it again. The whole film is very well crafted, from foreshadowing to cinematography to the music. It's layers upon layers, and then every detail is so meticulously planned out. It's like you're thinking, who has that kind of time, right? But Ari Aster has, right? I don't know what kind of deals he made or what kind of a ritual that he's made, but
Ari Aster.
Yeah, good for you and good for us, right? Horror fans. But I would rate this a 9 out of 10 as well. Because like what I said, due to some of the I would say I wouldn't even say flaws, but yeah, Naked Grandmas is a negative.
I feel like Naked Grandma is just a horror trope.
But yeah, so I definitely know Naked Grandmas. But yeah, I felt that the deaths of the three Americans wasn't really that significant. It felt kind of throwaway-ish, where kind of like for the shock factor, Simon just died from a blood eagle, and it feels like he just want to throw a blood eagle in there for no reason, right? So, but other than that, the film is freaking great. 9 out of 10. Lynn?
Okay. I really like the movie. I think I've said in the beginning that it is slightly a bit long. For a first-time viewer, I did not expect all the crazy things that happen in that almost 3 hours of the movie. I think all of you have mentioned that Ari Aster is a genius. He does really a really good job in planning out all the details. I think he is a perfectionist because like every aspect of the foreshadowing and whatnot, it was really planned out really well. The cinematography, so much detail and attention were put into it. I think everything about the movie is great except that it's a bit lengthy for me. But it's not like I had an issue with it. It's fine. Like what Josh said, I think if they were to cut off some of the extremes, I think it wouldn't impact us as much. So if you ask me if I would like Hereditary over Midsommar, I would say yes, but it's almost on par. So I gave Hereditary a 10, and I would give this like a 9.5. And also because I have a bias towards the occult subgenre. I really like the occult subgenre. So I think we have reviewed A Dark Song, Hereditary, and now Midsommar. I think I've given them pretty decent scores. Maybe we haven't watched any bad ones yet, but but
not yet.
We got Caleb Speak coming up. Caleb Square.
I'm gonna throw a position in.
10 out of 10, baby.
Yeah. So I mean, I actually can't believe that this is only Ari Aster's second movie. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. Actually, this morning I also watched one of his short films. It's called. It's also quite sick, actually.
Wow, fan.
Yeah, I'm already a fan. The strange thing about
is that
the Johnsons,
the
one
it's
about the incest.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's just sick.
Don't watch that. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That guy has a thing about family. Like I wonder about his family life. I really do.
I don't know whether he needs a psychiatrist or not. It's crazy.
Yeah, he does. He needs a psychiatrist. I mean, making films is his outlet for his.
Did you watch that short film, Killer? No? Don't watch it. It creeps on you. And it's just like the first time I watched it, it's like, oh my god. I mean, we can have another review for that.
Yeah.
just by saying don't watch it, make me want to watch it.
So go watch it then.
I think we all.
Maybe we can do it as a bonus episode. We can.
But I think we all need an Ari Aster break for a while.
Yeah.
It's too much.
I think Ari Aster needs a break from himself.
That's all the films
Actually.
We only have 2 of them, and we review 2 of them back to back.
Just don't watch that
So
one.
your final score is 9.5.
Yes, 9.5.
9.5. Yeah.
All right. So maybe we can move into some recommendation. Josh, I believe you have a recommendation for us.
Yeah, so if you are interested in seeing people getting caught up in cults,
It's always like this.
Out of the way communes, there's this film called The Endless that came out in 2018. It's about 2 brothers who had, when they were kids, had escaped from a UFO death cult, and then they are drawn back. And when they are there in the cult camp, they are then forced to consider, what their beliefs are, and really what is going on with the cult itself, right? it's really really good. It's a indie low budget film, but don't let that put you off. It's in fact a partial sequel to Resolution, which came out in 2012. So if you are if you are thinking of diving into this, maybe watch Resolution first and then watch The Endless. Although Resolution is not an occult film, but it's a more sci-fi horror kind of thing, and I think it's really really good. Like The Endless has some themes, some Lovecraftian themes as well. It's mind bending. There's some time bending mechanisms. It's really trippy. In a good way. So if you're in Midsommar, already very trippy. If you want to watch something else that is also trippy, also cultish, check out The Endless.
All right, thank you, Josh. So, continuing with the theme of the occult, I believe Caleb has a movie for us, which will be the forecast for next week's discussion.
Right. So next week we will be reviewing the movie Host. Not The Host, just Host. It came out this year, 2020.
There's two movies called The Host.
Yeah, there's two movies called The Host. The Host. This one is just Host. Right. It came out this year. It's a British found footage horror film filmed on Zoom, I think.
Yeah.
Is it Zoom? Yeah. It's based off our situation in 2020 when everyone's quarantined because of the COVID-19. And then this group of friends came together to do a ritual seance. Right.
Yeah.
And spooky things happen. And it's directed by Rob Savage. Yes, Rob
What
Savage.
a name, man. What a
Rob
name.
Savage. All right.
And if I'm not wrong, it's out on, what's that website called? Shudder.
It's on Shudder. Yeah.
It's Netflix for horror.
Right. All right. So if you guys are interested in joining us next week, we will be reviewing Host, not The Host, or the other The Host. And yep, do join us. Please make sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening this from. Leave us a comment if you want to reach out to us, and we'll respond to you. All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Don't reach out to us in Sweden.
If you're from Sweden, maybe just give us an email.
If you are from Sweden, we apologize.
Yeah, I'm sorry if we ignorant Malaysians don't know about Swedish culture, but if you guys are doing any kind of never mind.
Adios.